welcome to my channel. So today I want us to talk about slavery. Now this is a very controversial topic, and there's a debate going on right now about reparations. So you find that people in America, Republicans and even Democrats, and even in Europe, they are ignoring the issue of reparations. This means that they're ignoring the history. Because if you look at the history honestly, you can't ignore the issue of reparations. Because the issue of slavery really happened. And today, as we are talking, there's an ongoing plan to change history, to claim that the African Americans, who are the children of the slaves, they went to those countries by themselves willingly. It's like a job. And their lives have been better off than the way their lives were before when they were in Africa. But is that really true? So we have had many types of slavery. The most common is the transatlantic slave trade from West Africa to the Americas and even Europe. But also we have Indian Ocean trade. So slaves have been taken from West Africa. That was the transatlantic slave trade. And then we have also slavery, which is not very much discussed, which is Indian Ocean slave trade. So people from East Africa also are taken to Asia, even Europe, etc. Like even today, we have people in Paraguay who are called Kambas. They are taken from the Kambas in Kenya. But the one which is much talked about in movies is the transatlantic slave trade. And African Americans, most of them, and even the Caribbeans, they are the descendants of the slaves who are taken in the transatlantic slave trade. Today, as we are talking, there's a trend in the world to change the narrative. So this is like a plan to avoid paying the reparations or compensation. Even African countries which are colonized, those colonialist countries, some of them are apologizing for the colonialism. Like even the Dutch apologized for the slavery this week. But some countries are not ready to apologize. They are so stiff-necked. Like Bob Marley said, stiff-necked fools. They are stiff-necked, and they want to change the history to claim that slavery never took place, that those people went to those countries, the African slaves, they went there willingly. Just the way I can leave Kenya today and go to America to work. That's how they're claiming. But is that really the case? So here, put in your mind the following. Let's think logically. And let's stick by the truth. So assume that these slaves, the way they're transported, it was the same way that people transport cattle today. So I want people who can think logically. You are transporting, let's say, cows from Africa to maybe Asia or Europe. You place those cows in a place, in the ship, cargo ship, because you call them cargos. Now, you should know that even those slaves, human slaves, they were being called cargo. Look at any slavery movie, like the Amistad. They were called cargo, precious cargo. So even today, the way they transport cows today is the way they were transporting those slaves those days. You put cows like cargo in a ship like this, and then you wash them so as to maintain their cleanliness, and then you feed them to ensure that they don't lose value. So by washing them, you wash them like this, as you can see here on the left. This is the same way they're washing slaves. Watch any movie like Amistad or read any slavery novel, and you will see this is how they are treating the slaves. Just basic cleaning, the way you can clean cattle to make them clean enough. But now try to imagine. Cows are not human beings. Look at these cows here on the right. They do everything here. They even relieve themselves here. Imagine that. And then someone is saying that slaves went there willingly, and there should be no reparations or compensation. How is that possible? So slaves were packed like this, just like the way you can pack sardines. The way you can pack sardines or a lot of fish, they were packed like this. This is how they were packed, even worse than this. In fact, this is worse than the way you can pack cows. Slaves were packed like this. They were just called cargo. Those slave traders were very inhumane. They used to refer to slaves as cargo, just the way you can refer to cattle, which are being transported as cargo. And then you give them basic food, very minor food to make them survive. You wash them the way you can wash cattle. And then you put them like this. Just like this. So where you are sleeping is where you sleep. You can't even stand because they are tied with chains there. And then just like I've said, they do most of their stuff. They do most of their stuff where they are sitting. They do everything there. So try to imagine this. You are sitting there. Let's say you are called Michael. And then the slave traders caught you and your mother and your father and your grandparents. And then you are packed here, all of you. So this means that you are doing everything here. Because you are tied with chains, if it is a long call, you just do it here, even short call. So imagine you are seeing your parents and even grandparents doing that there. And you're in the same room. And then assume that maybe your sister is also here and she's maybe a teenager. Your sister is here in this ship also. Plus your father, your mother, your uncle. Then these slave traders, some of them who had no morals, they can come there and they can rape. They can rape your sister there. They can rape your aunt. And even in worst case, they can even rape your mother because to them they don't care. They can do that when you are watching in the same place. These things were the things which are happening. And then those who are sick or who are troublesome, they are thrown in the sea. They are thrown aboard. For those who have any infection disease, they are thrown overboard to prevent them infecting the rest. For those who are troublesome, they are thrown in the ship, in the ocean. So think about that. That's how they are being treated. So very many slaves were thrown in the ocean. Those who are troublesome or those who are sick, they were thrown there. Or those who are very weak. Because not everybody has a strong metabolism to endure this journey across the Atlantic. So those who had weak immunity, they were thrown in the ocean. But try to imagine, you are doing everything there. And then in those days, the ships were not very mechanically developed. So the ship will take almost months from Africa to Brazil or Africa to America. So if you are very weak, many people will die. And then when they will see that you're going to die or you're weak, you're losing weight, they throw you over the ocean. So you are here in this same place for months. Maybe if you are lucky enough, you have a more compassionate slave master, they can allow you to go to up there to get some sunshine. But that was rare. They always remain packed like this underground, like sardines. And most of these ship owners, they will become millionaires or billionaires. And their descendants are the ones who are ruling today in America and Europe. When slave trade was banned, they used their money to form plantations where they took these slaves to become the laborers. When that economy ended after the Civil War, most of those powerful rich slave owners of the South, they became today's owners of multinationals. And their descendants are the ones who are claiming today that slaves just came to America willingly and their lives are better off. But look at the history. Look at how things were. Is that really the case? So if you look at this story, because this is the truth, and if I'm lying, let someone explain the contrary evidence. Because we have tons of books, movies like Amistad, very many things that show, they document all this. In fact, I believe that I've not covered deep enough. And then you find that there's a group that refused slavery, I think the Igbos, and they drowned themselves willingly. So you have these images today. You have these images. So this is the truth. You can't run away from the truth. So today as we are talking, there's a talk about reparations. European countries are returning the artifacts they stole from Africa. Some are apologizing. But I think it's high time that every company or country that was involved in transporting slaves and selling slaves, or those who are involved in these kind of things, they are supposed to apologize and even pay reparations and compensation to the descendants of the slaves. So like Martin Luther King Jr. used to say that I have a dream that one day the children of the slave owners will play with the children of the slaves. For me, I have a dream that one day, the descendants of the slave owners will pay reparations to the descendants of the slaves. And in fact, the descendants of the slave owners will beg the children of the slaves to please take the reparations. Those days are coming. Those days are coming. They'll not only pay, but they'll beg the kids of the slaves, the ones we call African Americans today. They'll beg them to take those reparations. Now let's look at these Bible verses. So Israelites, when they were leaving Egypt in the first Exodus, God gave them favor, and God made the Egyptians to give the Israelites whatever Israelites asked for, whether it was gold or silver. So Exodus chapter 12, verse 35-36, it says that, now the Israelites had acted in accordance with the word of Moses, and had asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and articles of gold and clothing. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they gave them what they asked for. So we will have another Exodus. It will be there. There will be another Exodus. And the same thing will happen. So if today they are refusing to give reparations, that time will come. And they'll beg those people to receive the reparations. They'll beg them. Because what has happened before will happen again. And then Jeremiah 16, 19, 21. He says that those who have committed wrong to God's people, they'll discover the truth at the end. And they'll say, "Oh Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto you from the ends of the earth, and they shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there's no profit." So today, people are being lied to that they can get away with those acts of atrocity like slave trade. Now, apart from Atlantic slave trade, we have Indian Ocean slave trade. Even today, people from Kenya, Uganda, Zambia, Mozambique, they are going to Arabian countries and they're being misused. Many of them are dying. So we'll have these reparations happening from any people who are involved in slave trade, whether it was America or in Asia, etc. Even here in Africa, we have African tribes that have sold their fellow Africans as slaves. And Museveni even apologized the other day. So it's a time for the truth. It's a period where the truth is coming out. But I believe that one day, the children of slave owners, they'll pay the reparations, and they'll even beg the children of the slaves to please take the reparations. Please take the compensations. Forgive us. They'll come and tell those children of the slaves, that surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things where there's no profit. They'll say that they were wrong. Those days are coming. So that is my analysis for today. And this is my contribution to the topic of reparations. So reparations is a no-brainer. Here there's no debate. And history can never be erased. Never. In fact, in the days of social media, you can't erase history. I know before the Renaissance period, history was kind of erased. Books were changed. But in this age, they're trying to change history, but it is hard because we have social media. We have social media, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, they're all there. And people are gathering, people are studying. Millennials are studying to know the history. So it's very hard to change history. And they even want to change the Bible. They want to change the Bible also. So you can't run away from the truth. So that's my view for today. I know it's controversial, but we have to say the truth about slavery. Similar to slavery is colonialism. Even there will be reparations and compensation. Those who colonized Africa and even Asia, they'll pay reparations and they'll pay compensation. Those days are coming. Because every choice must have consequences. You can't say that now you are just clean, but others have suffered for centuries. It's not possible. It's not possible. So Museveni is very courageous. Museveni is a Ugandan president, and I think he's the first African president to make an official apology for the role played by African chiefs in selling the slaves to the European slave traders. Because there was some collusion, there was some collaboration between African chiefs who sold their own people to the slave traders. And even a movie like the one where Viola Davis acted about those female slave warriors. That movie it's like a corruption of the slave trade stories of West Africa. So some African tribes and chiefs actually took part in selling their own people or selling people of a different tribe to the slave traders. It happened. So there was collaboration. Because the European slave traders, they did not know the roots in Africa. They were helped by collaborators. Even here in East Africa, we have some tribes that collaborated. I recall even when I was a child, I used to hear that long time ago, there were some neighboring tribes that used to chase some of my tribes. And people of my tribe used to hide away from those slave catchers. They were there, even here in East Africa. So it takes a lot of courage for an African president like Museveni to apologize. And we must commend him for that. So Museveni deserves a lot of applause for that apology. So this comes at a time when, like I've said before, there's a plan by European scholars to brush away slavery by saying that there's no need for reparations. Slaves went to Europe and America willingly, which is false. So Museveni has countered them by saying that slavery was there, it was inhumane, and that's why he has apologized. So Museveni deserves credit and applause for correcting that part of history. But now, apology alone is not enough. We recall, I think in 2019, where the Ghanaian president talked about this right of return, where they were giving African-American visas to come back. So there are very many African-Americans who have gone to Ghana. So Ghana has done good there. So just like even Museveni, even this Ghanaian president, even him, he deserves credit for opening doors for African-Americans. But you find that there's a problem here, that only the rich African-Americans are able to afford visa. So they still visa, they have to pay. They have to pay to go to Africa. But not these African Americans, they are Africans. How do you pay to go back to your own land, the land of your ancestors? So far, I think hundreds or even thousands of African Americans have they have come to Africa. But these are only the rich. People who have saved their money, pension after years of working. They are also able to afford. So it's not fair. So African leaders should do more. So after Museveni has apologized, it's expected that other African leaders too should come and apologize, and even specifically African chiefs must come and apologize. And then, after that, like I've said before, America and Europe and those countries that benefited from slave trade, they must pay reparations to the descendants of slavery. Because it was inhumane, like you have just seen. Those slaves were called cargo, just so you can call cows or sheep cargo. And they were handled in a very inhumane way. So reparations is a must. So after the apology of Museveni, there should be reparations to African Americans, and then African leaders and AU. They must go a step forward after the apology to now be able to open up Africa for African Americans to come without visa. Because you cannot expect people of Africa to again come and pay visa fees to go back to the land of their ancestors. So African leaders like Museveni, Ruto, all these other leaders, they must, in AU, they must open Africa for African Americans to come free. And then they must be given land. Good land where they can go and settle with their families. Those who want to come. Those who remain in America, they must be helped to again settle there, if that's their choice. But Africa in union and African presidents must go much further. After apologizing, they must open up Africa for African Americans to come back. Because Africa currently has so many problems, which can be solved also by the skills and the know-how and exposure of African Americans. In fact, I don't think if Africa can prosper or succeed without African Americans coming back. Because, we are family. Those are our relatives. So we cannot prosper as a people if some of our people are still in the ghettos of America. Not possible. So African leaders must open up these borders for the African Americans to come. Instead of opening up for the whites, we must open up for our own brothers and sisters who want to come back. And they must come back free. No visa fees. Because they are Africans just like us. That is AU. That's their role. And AU is headed by African presidents like Museveni, Nana Akufo. All these presidents, they must do that. So they have the power. So Africa must play its part, and then the countries that benefited from the slavery, like America and even Europe, these countries were constructed by the blood and sweat of the slaves. They must pay reparations. They must pay reparations for the descendants of these slaves, and then help them, those who want to travel, help them to come back. Maybe give them ships, cruise ships. In the same way, they were taken by ships from the West African coast. These same countries, they must provide cruise ships for them to come back to Africa. So AU and EU and USA, those countries that benefited, they must go extra measure. Even the Dutch royalty, they apologized, just like Museveni. That is not enough. They must pay reparations and help correct the mistake. Because now we are in the days of truth. Truth is happening. After this slavery, let's now go to colonialism. We have colonial countries in Europe who are still holding artifacts from Africa. They must return them. And then there has to be also compensation for the African countries that have been colonialized. So all this is supposed to happen right now. That's my proposal. Because apology is a first step. And so far, it's only the rich African Americans who have been able to come back to Africa. So they're finding it very expensive to come back to the land of their fathers. That's very unjust. They must come back if they want to. Those who want to come back to tour, they should come and just tour. As if just like me, I can go back to my rural home during the holidays without paying any visa fee. That's what's supposed to happen. That's what they call justice. So this truth must be discussed right now, and I hope that these African leaders can listen to this word of advice and take corrective measures. Because I know every African who is here in the continent, they always feel pain when they see the images of African Americans suffering there. I know even Africa, we are also suffering here in the continent. But maybe if those African Americans come back, we can now unite and we can solve many problems. So that's my view. And we must give credit to Museveni and even the Dutch royalty for the apology, but they must do more. So reparations is a must, and AU must open up the continent for the African Americans to come back and settle. So that is no visa, and then they must be given land. That is my proposal. I don't know what to think, but that's my view. Let me see your comments in the comment section. This is a very controversial topic, but we must say the truth. That's all for today, and thank you very much.